We recently sailed on Royal Caribbean's Independence of the Seas. When it was launched in 2008, it was the largest cruise ship in the world. Now, especially with some of the newer ships Royal Caribbean has put out, it's a mid-size ship at best. It was refurbished in 2018 and is still very popular among cruisers around the world.
We traveled over Christmas on Independence of the Seas, and we wanted to give you our honest review and opinion of our entire cruise. So what we did is we set up categories and we gave them a 1 through 5 ranking of each of those categories in the hopes of trying to get you a better idea of what our thoughts were for this cruise.
So come along with us as we review Independence of the Seas, and hopefully it will help you decide whether this ship is perfect for you on your next vacation. So come along with us.
Okay, first category we're going to go over is the ship itself. Now this ship is pretty well laid out. It didn't take too long to get around the ship, and there's 2 sets of elevators banks, one forward and one aft.
Yeah, the other thing I really liked about the ship is there were a lot of different places scattered around the ship. So it never really felt crowded. You had a lot of different areas around the pools, you had a lot of different lounges, and they were scattered all over the ship. So it never really felt like there were tons and tons of people that you were climbing over to get around. So that was really nice.
Okay, and now we're going to talk about seating. I don't know about you, Ann, but I thought there was a lot of options of seating choices, especially in the shade. They had a lot of loungers and stuff like in the adults only pool area, and even in the main Lido pool deck, there was a lot of covered areas in the shade so people didn't have to be out in the sun all day long.
Yeah, it was really nice. If you're one of those sun worshipers, there were plenty of places for you, as well as the people. I tend to be more of a person who's looking for the shade. So I thought the variety of options all scattered throughout the ship really was a nice thing. One of the really convenient things about this ship is most of the main things you were looking for were found in the promenade area on deck 5. There you could find guest services, shore excursions, a number of shops for shopping, an ice cream parlor, a candy store. All of those things were very conveniently located in one particular area. Plus, in that area, they also used it in the evening for parties. So like the 80s party and things like that. It was a lot of fun and it was a really great use of space.
Yeah, don't forget Sorrento's. Sorrento's was there.
Sorrento's, yes, pizza. And the Cafe Promenade where you could get treats was also really a nice spot.
Yeah, the only negative I thought was when they had the 80s parties and stuff like that in the promenade, there really wasn't quite enough seating, so you had to duck into one of the lounges or something and be kind of away from the action. But outside of that, I think we really enjoyed the promenade. We had a panorama room, I think it was called, panoramic room right above the promenade, so our room looked out onto the promenade, so it was kind of cool.
It was a cool thing. We could people watch, and then it was also fun. It was a great place again to watch the parties, and so we really enjoyed it.
And the other thing I did was in the mornings I'd run downstairs to Cafe Promenade and I'd get our coffees, so that was always good, real close to the coffees. So
one of the things I personally didn't like about this ship is I thought the furniture was a little dated, and some of it was just frankly not very comfortable. In the evenings, we would try to look for a comfortable place to kind of hang out and have a drinks, and there just wasn't really a lot of very comfortable places to just kind of relax and chill.
True. I think it was the champagne bar that was really uncomfortable. We went in there a couple of times when they had like I said, the 80s parties, but the seats were just pretty uncomfortable overall. But
now the ship was refurbished in 2018, and I think maybe it just needs a little upgrade. Some of the furniture is a little bit tired.
Yeah, our room too. We both thought the room was a little bit on the tired side. Some of the couches and stuff like that were showing their age. I lost something and I had to go under one of the couches, and ooh, don't want to do that again. But yeah, the rooms, and I know Royal really never goes in and does a lot of refreshes on their rooms, but it's starting to show its age a little bit on that aspect, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's a place that Royal Caribbean really could take a little time, is to just freshen up the rooms and maybe bring them up into the next decade. Would be a good thing to do.
Yeah. So from here, now we're going to give our final score for the ship itself.
Personally, I gave the ship a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
It was really easy to get around. I really liked that. I loved the places and where the different venues were placed. I thought it was very easy to navigate and didn't take a whole lot of time to figure that stuff out.
Okay. I as well gave it a 4 out of 5. I just thought it was a well laid out ship, did not take a long time to get anywhere. Especially with only having the 2 banks of elevators. Sometimes that's a problem on some ships. It really wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
The promenade was really a great place to be. You had the splash pad for the kids. You had the pool deck. You had all that along with the ice skating and so on. So from the ship standpoint itself, I thought it was a really nice ship. Just some of the seating was a little old and tired and not real comfortable. But that was probably about it. So yeah, 4 out of 5 for me as well.
4 out of 5. Our next category is entertainment. When you go on a cruise, you want to see some world-class entertainment. And we saw some really fantastic shows
yes, we did.
when we were on this cruise.
Yes, we did.
They had some great singers. They had some great dancers. We saw a guy who was doing juggling and comedy. Those were really good. Probably the highlight, I would say, of the entertainment was the gigantic theater show of Greece. It really was nice. It was fun. The performers were excellent. The music was great. And I thoroughly enjoyed that part of the experience.
Yeah, Greece was awesome. If you get a chance to see it, it's a full production show. It's not just one of the 30, 45-minute shows. This thing was like an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
So it
was pretty long.
It definitely is a full production show, and you don't want to miss it. That being said, some of the lounges, the music was a little on the loud side, and I love loud music.
Yes, he does.
But this was to the point where you could be sitting in the lounge and not be able to even talk to the person next to you. So I think that was a little bit, I mean, we've been on a lot of cruises and we've never had it where you can't even hear the person sitting next to you before. So that was one of my little gripes about entertainment. But
another thing I was surprised with Royal Caribbean with the entertainment is some of the shows in the evening they would only run it once. On a lot of other cruise lines, they'll run them multiple times to accommodate for people in different dinner schedules. I was really surprised. There were some shows we wanted to see, but we couldn't because they were scheduled while we were having dinner. So that was a little bit of a disappointment from Royal Caribbean.
Yeah, but there was a couple of other things I really did enjoy. They had the ice skating where they did it based on, I think it was the decades of the music.
That was really good.
Which was really good. But then they also had some family orientated stuff too. They had the silent disco, but it was family orientated. So they had everybody out there with their kids on. It was actually in Studio B, the ice skating rink. So it was kind of cool. They put a floor over the top and everybody had fun. So they did have a lot of family-orientated entertainment.
And they had a lot of games. We went to a couple of the games. We went to the Love and Marriage show, and we went to bingo. So we went to a variety of games and really had a nice time. Yeah. They were also very well attended, which always kind of adds to the fun when a lot of people are there and getting into it. So overall, really enjoyed the entertainment. Thought it was a good time.
Yep. So based on that, what do you give it for a score?
I'd say overall, I'd give the entertainment a 4.
4? Okay, that's where I was headed to with it. 4 out of 5, just because, and only because some of the lounges the music was a little bit too loud. But something minor, I know. But that's where we're at on that. Moving on. If you're finding this video helpful, please be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell to be alerted to all of our new videos that come out every week. It's free and it really helps our channel to grow. Thanks a lot. Let's get back to the video.
Our next category is food. Everyone goes on a cruise ship and wants to have a fantastic meal. And so we've broken this category up into a couple of different food options. So first, I'm going to talk about the main dining room. We had my time dining. So we had the option of essentially showing up to eat whenever we want. However, the first night we were there, they said, hey, do you want to come at this time the entire cruise and have the same table? And so we chose to do that, which was fine. I mean, wasn't a really big deal. We had a really great table. They put us next to the window. That was fantastic.
Great table.
In terms of the food, In the main dining room, I don't know. Maybe I was just unlucky. Food is kind of a subjective thing. The first 2 nights I was there, I ordered steak. I had prime rib, and then I had a brisket on the second night. And when I had the prime rib, I personally thought it was terrible. It wasn't very well cooked. It was very tough. It didn't have a lot of flavor. I just didn't really think it was good, but I thought, well, it's a one-off, no biggie. The second night I had the brisket, and it was the same way. And I was kind of disappointing to have 2 bad steaks 2 nights in a row. So I got to the point where I wasn't even ordering it anymore.
Well, and on top of that, you actually, I think the second night you actually sent it back and got a different entree. And they were great about it. But
they really were. They were great about it.
But because of your experience, I just completely avoided ordering any kind of meat for the rest of the trip because of it. And I realize it's subjective. Everybody has their own taste with food and so on. But I'm really picky with steak. And if she says it's tough, it's tough. So I just avoided it.
And I mean, we had some good meals. We had some chicken and we had shrimp. Shrimp is one of my favorites. So,
yeah.
But it was just not amazing to me. I was a little disappointed, frankly.
Yep. And then the other was the Windjammer Buffet. And the Windjammer Buffet is...
It's a buffet.
It's a buffet. I thought they had pretty much everything any other ship would have. Carnival, MSC, it's all a lot of the same stuff. I don't know what you thought on that.
I thought there could have been a little more selection, particularly at breakfast. One thing about me, I don't eat eggs. And so it was kind of hard to find things to eat at breakfast that weren't egg-based. I saw a number of nice looking food that just was egg-based. And so I don't eat eggs. And so that was one of the things that was a little disappointing to me, that there really wasn't a lot of options for the non-egg eaters other than like donuts.
Okay, well, I'll disagree with you on that one. I think they had waffles and stuff. But anyways, it's about the same quality as you're going to see on most other cruise lines. But the one thing I didn't care for was the flow of the Windjammer Buffet on the Independence of the Seas. It seemed they had these little island pockets, and people didn't know which way to go around. And it just seemed kind of chaotic. And it also didn't feel like there was enough seating on the ship.
It was really hard to find a seat. And unfortunately, that brings up the situation where one person goes and sits and holds a seat, which means you end up being in the buffet even longer and taking up the seat even longer just because of it. So it was crowded. Yeah. I didn't think the flow was very good.
Yeah, on days when you go to port, it's really tough to find a seat. So keep that in mind when you're on Independence of the Seas and heading into port for the day. You're going to want to get there early because it gets packed.
It does. It really does. The one thing I did love about Independence of the Seas is they had food options that were included in your fare that were scattered in different parts of the ship. So, for example, the Cafe Promenade was a great spot to stop for a brownie or a cookie.
And coffee.
In in the evenings or in the early mornings.
Yeah.
We also, you really loved Sorrento's.
Sorrento's was right down on Cafe Promenade.
That was really good. I really liked the Fish and Chips, which was located in the pool area.
Yeah, it's right by the kid pool area, the splash pad.
Where you could get fish and shrimp. I thought those were really good, and it was kind of nice to have food options, and you didn't have to wander up to the buffet or something like that. So that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, that's been some of my issues on some of the other cruise lines, is having to always go to the buffet to get food, where on this ship they had the fish and chips right there, so you could at least go grab something without having to put clothes on and go to the buffet and get it. So now, what did you
we didn't try any of the specialty dining, so we're not including that in this at all. Just because
Chops.
we didn't
go to Chops or Azumi or any of that stuff. But so, what did you give this for a final score?
I gave the food a 3.
Oh, really?
I didn't feel it was very overwhelming. It was average. It was average, and yeah.
Okay.
3.
So and I gave it a 4 just because I didn't have any of the steaks. So I was just eating everything else, and I thought it was decent. It was good. It was comparable to other cruise lines, I thought. It wasn't like out of this world, but I thought it was pretty good overall. So that's kind of where I'm at on the scoring.
Our next category is service. And I would say in this particular category, Royal Caribbean did not disappoint. I thought the service overall was absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
We'll start first with the room steward. I thought our room steward was amazing. He wasn't one of those ones who was really pushy, but yet anytime we needed anything, boom, he was there.
Yeah.
He brought us towels or, whatever you needed. Yeah. And he was personable, he was friendly. I really enjoyed that about the room steward. And in fact, I thought that about pretty much all the staff that we encountered when we were around the ship, whether it was at guest services or anything else like that. I thought all of the servers and crew were just amazing.
Yep. The main dining room people especially.
Oh my gosh, they were outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah, they were by far, out of all the cruises we've been on so far, I think they were probably the best.
They really were.
They spent time standing and talking to us, and we love talking with the staff and everything. Mm-hmm. And there was times they stopped for like 5 minutes towards the end of our dinners and just bantered with us back and forth and had a conversation.
Yeah, I almost felt bad. I was like, okay, I didn't want them to think that we were holding them up, but I mean, they were having conversations and we really enjoyed that. And we just had a wonderful time. They acted like we were their only table.
Yeah.
And you can tell clearly from looking around the dining room that we weren't, but they made us feel like we were their only table. Yeah. And so that's the important part, I think.
Yeah, it was top notch. And also the bar service was top notch, along with the wait staff at the bars. You did not have to wait very long for a drink. I would walk up to the pool bars or the lounge bars and boom, they were right there. What can we get you? So they were Johnny on the spot.
And the lines at all of the bars weren't very long. So if you were trying to get a drink, you didn't have to wait very long at all. And unfortunately, we've been on some cruises recently. This is one thing we think MSC really needs to work on, is getting more staff in their bars, because sometimes we've had to wait a long time for a drink. But oh my gosh, we got everything we needed just like that, which was outstanding.
Yeah, it was bar none the best. No pun intended. But what are we going to give the service a rating of?
I would give the service a 5 out of 5. I thought it was amazing. I thought every single crew member was outstanding, made me feel welcome, was pleasant and happy. I'd go 5 out of 5.
I agree. This was one area where they excelled. 5.
Our last category is value. And how did we feel about the overall value for the money that we spent and what we got? And generally, I thought that was pretty good. When we booked this cruise, it was a little bit of I thought it was a little bit pricey
it was.
for a 5-day cruise, but it was over the holidays. And so I understand over the holidays, supply and demand, all that kind of stuff.
However, it is, as most of you are probably aware if you've looked at any pricing models, Royal Caribbean generally is a little more pricey than Carnival and MSC and maybe a couple of other cruise lines. So we also got to keep that in mind too.
Yeah.
So.
This was a 5-day cruise that we went on, and the itinerary was to Coco Cay and Cozumel. So it was a fun, great ports. We really enjoyed Coco Cay. Cozumel is always a good time, and so those were fine.
Yeah, hard to go wrong with Coco Cay and Cozumel. So big thumbs up on that. So leading into that, what do you think our final score, or what's your final score for the value of the cruise?
In terms of overall value, I'd give it a 4.
4?
I thought that, it was a little bit pricey because of the holidays, but yet it was still a good time. The service was fantastic, and we had a very nice cruise. We really enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah, and for me, I would actually rate it a tad higher. I wouldn't call it a 5, but we're not doing halvesies on this.
We're not doing halvesies, no.
So I can't give it a 5, so I'm gonna have to stick with a 4 on this, and that's only because of the food on it. But itinerary was excellent, and even though the price was a little higher, it still was a holiday cruise, so we got to take that into consideration. So I'll give it a 4 myself.
So here we are at the end. Where did Independence of the Seas end up in its averages? For me, my average score ended up being a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed the entertainment. I thought that the ship itself was very well laid out and had a lot of different options for different groups of people. I wasn't really a fan of the food. It was okay. But big picture, it was really a wonderful cruise, and I really enjoyed our trip on Independence of the Seas.
Yeah, mine came out to a 4.2 average, so slightly higher. I liked the food probably a tad bit more than you, but I didn't have the steak. So that's where I think that difference came out. Outside of that, though, great value overall, great itinerary, impeccable service. So I don't think you can match that for the value overall. So I think it was a great cruise, and I think you'll enjoy it if you go on Independence of the Seas as well.
If you want to learn more about Independence of the Seas, check out our videos that we have linked in the description below. Especially if you're looking at a tour, this virtual tour will really help you find your way around the ship.
Yep. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Happy cruising.
Happy cruising.